Hello, everyone. My name is Kelsie Stark, and I am one of Alien Buddha's poets. And today I have the honor of reading a couple excerpts from the Alien Buddha's Best of 2023. There were so many great works in here, and honestly, I had a hard time choosing which ones to read. As you see, I got a lot of bookmarks in here. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and just start reading. Let's see. This is The Bon Marche by Ruth Powell. Elizabeth examined her reflection in the glass window of the Bon Marche once more. She liked what she saw. Her tall, dark silhouette looked elegant in the starched white skirt and long-sleeved blouse that she usually wore to chapel. The hat and gloves were adorable, but what she loved most were her pillar-box red lips. She smiled at herself and twirled, and the skirt danced about her. Elizabeth took off her gloves, opened her bag, and took out the red lipstick. She applied more on her lips and removed a little smudge of color from the corners with her finger. She smiled again and put the lipstick back into her bag with her other belongings. Inside the bag was a coin purse with 2 shillings and 6 pence, a white handkerchief with the letter E embroidered on it, 2 ticket stubs from the palace for an evening showing of Double Indemnity, and a bookmark from chapel. The bookmark from chapel had a picture with Jesus teaching a parable to a crowd of children. She couldn't remember which parable it was or how long it had been in her bag, but she did remember it was a gift for Easter Sunday. "Well, aren't you a sight for sore eyes?" said David, who was watching Elizabeth from across the street. He was resting one leg up against the wall, and his head was tilted over to the left. Though the sun was making him squint, he still managed to stare directly at her in the reflection of the glass window of the Bon Marche. She stared back. He walked towards her slowly. She could see him advancing and feel him coming closer to her at the same time. Elizabeth felt that her breathing was shallow and quick. "Hello, David," she said. "Fancy seeing you here." He was wearing a brown suit that looked elegant from a distance, but which Elizabeth knew had 2 buttons missing. His shirt was unironed, and she could smell cigarettes from his breath. None of her brothers smoked or used the oil he used to slick back his dark hair. She smiled at the idea of one of her brothers smoking. Elizabeth knew that she would see David here near the Bon Marche. She never saw him at chapel or at the dance, but she knew she would see him here on a Saturday afternoon. Sometimes he was with friends, sometimes alone. He was chewing at the edge of a matchstick and staring at her reflection directly. She looked very beautiful today. Standing there in the sunshine in the glass window of the Bon Marche, she looked like a young Marilyn. Her lipstick looked fantastic, and her neck looked like a dream. He wanted to lean in slowly and kiss her, just like he'd done that night after Double Indemnity at the palace, but he didn't dare, not in broad daylight. The kiss, that moment, had been a surprise for Elizabeth. She had thanked him for buying the tickets. He nodded, told her she was more than welcome, and gave her the 2 ticket stubs as souvenirs. "Something to remember me by," he said, but immediately wished he didn't. He didn't want this to be the end of it, not by a long shot. Still holding the tickets, he leaned and kissed her on the mouth. She felt the effect of the kiss from her shoulders to her toes. She opened her mouth involuntarily and closed her eyes. She felt the impact of it in her abdomen, and when she breathed out again, she thought she was flying. God in heaven, it felt like flying. Later, when it stopped, she was amazed that everything still looked the same. And that's just a bit from The Bon Marche by Ruth Powell. I'm going to move on. And let's see. Another favorite of mine that I saw in this book was Avian Area by Michelle Cicilline. "I fall in love with most trees I meet. When describing how branches sway, dare not say they make a certain magic. Show the passing of movement through time, silky samba of silhouettes, breeze cutting and muse in her limbs. From shower to bath, then pool to sea. Bolt cracks open the sky, the widening, relentless acoustic guitar riffs that sweet and sour movie once seen between fingers. Ever ancient, rumbling, the stirring, disco floor disappears. Spotlight withdraws without warning. Barren witnessing, holy elegance of eternity. But this tree dances not for me. Two birds find an opening, temporary sanctuary. Then, when we three fly away together, I could try to show you how the sun makes heaven appear. There are things that words cannot touch. That's just absolutely beautiful. The next piece I'm going to be reading is Votum and Greeting by Enno DeWitt. Bury me in the worm wooden benches and cover my grave with cushions and songbooks. Choose an unintelligible text about the drunkards of Ephraim, whose glorious ornament is falling flower, which there is on the head of that very fat valley, of the smitten by wine, for I am smitten, am I, and not just by wine, and my valley is fat no more, not like it used to be. Dust slips like loose sand between my fingers and is lost forever. At the end of the day, God comes by with pizza and a couple of six-packs and explains that he doesn't mean it to be all this way, which of course doesn't help me much now. And he knows that, but he is genuinely sorry. He finishes his beer far too quick and falls asleep on the sofa, snoring, and I hear him thinking, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like this. Another piece I'm going to be reading is Let's Dance to Stuart by Dead Milkman by Brooke Nicole Plummer. Kiss my head rush, a slow lapse of unintentionality, your bullseye climactical, your prestidigitation with thousands of sensors beaming like Plato's theory on the fifth root race, where our bodies were sprawled atop of together after the explosion of Atlantis. I have tended well to rolling up a smirk to numbing sights where neon silhouettes stumble through love's drought. I have championed the fashion of being cracked open and callous if caught on. I have jaw-locked your heartbeat, the summary of red. I have stuttered you out irreversibly, the yolk of a diamond. And my parsicum, you favored me. That's very mysterious. And finally, I'm going to be reading Sincerity by Ambrose Hemsoth. Blooming in deathly winter, at the foot of your tomb, these thinly veiled petals, these 6 white blossoms, like a fox in the hedgerow, eyes of gold peering out behind tall grassy leaves, battling, bursting, up from the cold ground. Rare January blossoms, speak more truth to me now than your God ever did. And with that, those are just a few of my favorites from the Alien Buddhas Best of 2023, which you can find on Amazon. It has tons of stories and poems, things that are funny, things that are sad, all soup for the soul. And if I was you, I highly recommend picking up a copy and reading it and enjoying your weekends and weeknights with this book.